What's going on, good people? This is Eddie Gray, and we are back at it again. We're talking about Logic Pro. This has been an ongoing series. Thank you to all of you who have been following the series and have been supporting the cause. We really are on the last leg of the tour, so go ahead and get up. Let's get this party started, covering the environment in Logic Pro. Here we go. What's up? What's up? All right, what's going on, good people? This is Eddie Gray. Hopefully you are feeling well. You are in good health. I hope this transmission finds you aligned with all of your purpose. As always, just a reminder that you put the most important things in your life first in all of your endeavors and all of your thoughts and all of your actions. My name is Eddie Gray. On behalf of everybody on the channel, Resources for the Modern Creative, and on behalf of everybody at over at hfmusicacademy.com, we welcome you. We are so happy to be able to be doing this and to have the privilege to do this. And we have been doing this 6 days a week since January, if you can believe that. That's pretty wild. We are elated that we get to do this together. And as I said, we're getting near the end of the user guide. So get on board. This is your opportunity, your golden ticket to train with one of the very best in the game today. So we're going to get right into it. Let's go over into Logic Pro, and we will go from there. So something that I want to share with you is just a couple of usages. Like, why would you use the environment? I think this is probably what puzzles most Logic users. Like, yeah, I understand I have the environment, but what's the point? Well, let me give you one user case among many. And I guess this is a good time to mention that I by no means am an expert in the environment. I'm a student of the game. I study rigorously. I wake up early. Got up at 3:30 in the morning today. Was reading Edgar Rothermick's book on the environment. Preparing. I play full out. Everything I do. Was #1 in the Logic forum for the last 4 weeks. Got to the level I wanted to get to, and now we are moving on to the Logic curriculum that's coming in the next couple of weeks. Very excited to be able to present it to you. This is a free series. If you want to pre-register, go ahead and email support@hfmusicacademy.com. Okay, so one user case. As you can see, I have a circuit and a launch pad connected. Now, obviously, when I created these tracks, they didn't automatically name themselves. This is something I did off screen. But here's what I want to show you that's really fascinating. Oh, let me bring that window back. Okay. When I play the circuit, check this out. And I should probably turn off this program. 1 second. Okay, because otherwise, that's going to trigger the music as well. Okay, so when I play the circuit, check this out. All right. Now, bear in mind, track 1 is in key focus. It is, in fact, the track that Logic is focusing on. So theoretically, the behavior is if I touch any other MIDI controller at this point, it's going to play the same stuff. But because of the environment, and I'll go over the routing in a second here, I'm now playing the launch pad, which is underneath my desk here. And when I play it, even though track #1 is in key focus, right? So then now I can control what it is I want to control with every individual MIDI controller. How do we do that? Well, the first thing I want to say is that I went into the layer, okay, and so that's pretty easy enough. Then I basically brought in the physical input. I believe the physical import is usually found under clicks and ports. And so I literally just dragged it in from what I remember here. And so for most of us, especially if you have a MIDI controller, it's a very kind of messy screen. So what I recommend you do is hit Shift Option down, and this is going to help you kind of resize, and then Option Shift right arrow key. It's going to help you look at the screen a little bit better so you can decipher what's going on with your MIDI controllers. All right, so if we zoom in here, what do we see? We can see that I connect MIDI 4. This is my MIDI interface, and I also have I connect MIDI 4 DIN 2, and those have been routed to the respective channel strips. And so that's one user case of how you would do this and also why you would do this, right? Makes sense that you would spend time trying to do this, especially if you're a live performer or something to that extent. This works. If you want to change the coloring of the cables for organizational purposes, again, this is something that you could go into the View menu and select Colored Cables. And so with that being said, hopefully you're starting to kind of see a little bit of why you would do this. And so what I'm going to do now is go back to the user guide and continue on with making multiple connections in the Logic Pro environment. So let's see here. There's no limit to the number of cables that you can plug into the destination object. All MIDI signals are mixed at the object's input. Make multiple output connections from an object. Again, we connect one cable to the input of another, so it's outputting going in here. Once an output from an object is used, another output triangle automatically appears. So you can see in the transformer, to the right of it anyway, there's a little triangle. And this behavior kind of keeps going every single time you connect what they call objects. So when we use the second output triangle and you create another one, it's going to keep moving, so on and so forth. Some objects have special outputs and cannot be connected this way. One example is the channel splitter objects. Okay, so now they're letting us know, hey, most of the time this works, but there's some cases where you're not going to be able to do this. Right? In one case, the channel splitter objects, still not sure what that does, but we'll figure it out. Other special objects include cable switchers. All right, so I'm starting to see some correlation with like on and off messages, perhaps. Physical input objects. Again, we'll see what that means. That's coming up on page 975. With these objects, each output can only be used once. All right, let's continue on here. In Logic Pro, create a monitor object by choosing New Monitor. Wait, I believe we did this already. Yeah, we did this already. Let's continue on. Connect several cables to a common destination. All right, so if the cables are already connected, the simplest way to do this is to select Destination Object. How do we select Destination Object? Hold on. That may be, I think we read something about that. The option, is it View? No. Select Cable Destination? No. Okay. I should probably open up another one of these. I find that, at least for me, when learning this, it's good to have a couple of these open. So let's see if I could get that going. I'll hit Command 0 and we'll open up the environment on this side. Okay, so on the left side I'll have, let's do clicks and ports. So I've selected this. I hit Shift Option right arrow key. I don't know where this selection goes. I'll try this one more time. Select Cable Destination. Okay, so this is where all of this is going. That's kind of the workflow. Let me make sure we got that right. Hold on, it's this way. So if the cables are already connected, the simplest way to do this is they should have, it would, I think there's always room for improvement. And one of the ways to improve this here would be to have a key command just kind of ready to go, right? Informing logic users what to do, where to find it. Drag one of the cables to a new destination object. You're asked if you want to connect. Okay, good. So cable in series or parallel in the Logic Pro environment. All right, so are you going to connect these in series or in parallel? What does that mean? You can cable objects. Cabling objects in series is useful for quickly connecting groups of faders that are used to control a MIDI mixing console, for example. Okay, I'll highlight that. That seems useful if this is something you want to get into. And by the way, the environment can be completely avoided, and you can completely find your way and work your way around Logic. You don't need the environment to somehow master the program. All it does is gives you the ability to understand what's happening underneath the hood. It allows you to troubleshoot should issues ever come up. So obviously, if you're a consultant, if you teach, if you have clients, or if you just find yourself in situations where people ask you a lot of questions, then perhaps you may want to take this on. But I just want to be clear that you do not have to learn this to be a Logic Pro Power user. All of this is basically happening by itself now. But I will tell you that it gives you a certain kind of leverage that you will not be able to attain if you just understand the front of the store, if you will, right? If you know what's happening in the background, you can take inventory, understand where everything is, how it got there, when it got there. Then you can really start to get a grasp on what this is all about. This is why I'm doing it. Page 924, here we go. In Logic Pro, select the objects you want to cable, then choose options cable serially. Okay, cool. So you see how there's a file path, so that's very helpful in my eyes. So if I go back, okay, I guess I'll just go here. Hold on, it was options, cables. So Control S is the key command. I didn't see anything happen. I'll try it while selecting something. Not sure exactly if that's working. I didn't see any conditions. So that's part of it, is I just don't know when to mix it and all, or how to apply it, should I say. Control S, yeah. So not sure exactly what that means. Objects are cabled in series, starting with the upper left object. Yeah, I just need some more information. Once I heard somebody refer to learning Logic, like, their ideal way of learning the program would be kind of like a simulated flight, like if you were taking flight classes or something. They kind of walk you through every step. It's a protocol. I don't know if that exists in this world just because it's so open, but in cases like this, it would be nice to have specific diagrams, specific examples. When I created the curriculum for LearnQuest, who's an Apple training provider, this is exactly what I did with the entire curriculum. There's working examples, clear-cut explanations, documents to further elaborate on the subject at hand. I made it a point to really make it immersive and comprehensive so that people could learn the program. I'm 7 years in, so certain things are going to make sense to me based on my experience. If you've been using this program for 20 years, there are other things that are going to make sense to you, right? MIDI channels, things like that are probably a bit newer to most of us. But generally speaking, we, can really benefit, and we're really in need of really good resources to learn the program well and to learn it efficiently. We can spend lifetimes on YouTube learning as much as we can. And I really do look forward to giving you my resources that are coming out soon. 10 free courses, so stay tuned for that. Let's finish up 924. Cable a group of the same object type to a common destination. Logic Pro, cable one of the source objects to the destination. Select the source object, then choose Edit Copy. Okay, I'm just going to kind of follow what they're saying. to the destination, then select the source. Okay, in this case, the source would be that. Is it selected? I think it is. Then it says edit copy. Edit. Copy C. Select the other object, then choose options, apply buffer template to cables. I don't know if this is going to work, but I'll just do it. Sorry, where was that? That was under options, apply cables. Again, because I don't have an example, I'm not sure exactly what that means, but it says you can also copy complex cabling configurations this way. So if you know what you're doing here, this is kind of how you would create different configurations in a very easy way, and you can duplicate these. Just make sure that the object types in the group that you want to copy match the object types in the group that you can apply the buffer template to. So yeah, I guess it depends on the objects that you have, right, and where they're connected to. But again, I don't have a history with this. You know, I have a very brief kind of relationship to the environment, and so it seems that you can exchange environments. So once you learn how to utilize this, again, I will show you a couple of basic ways to use this that I understand. The primary purpose is to go through the user guide and see if there's anything that we can pick up, see if there's any gems here. One of the main advantages of the environment is that it lets you customize Logic Pro to fully control your MIDI studio. So bear in mind, MIDI studio. They didn't just say the whole studio, right? There's a specific purpose why they call it the MIDI environment, and I know that's confusing. I mentioned that yesterday, but it does in fact help with both. But really, I think the power lies within MIDI. This can, however, present a problem when you share with other musicians or you use different studio setups. It also presents a problem when you return to older projects as you've changed your studio. Logic Pro offers several functions to make these transitions as easy as possible. Whenever you want to exchange environments between projects, there is a source project containing the desired environment and a destination project. So apparently you can copy and paste these. You can import environments. Because I don't have this, I'm not going to do it, but it looks like we can. And actually, theoretically, this is a setup that I set up in advance. So maybe I'll tell you what, let me save a copy as, and I'll call this test on my desktop, okay? I'll hit Command D, make sure all the assets are enabled. I'm not using a movie file, so that is disabled. Okay, so we have the copy, and so what I'll do is I'll hit Command or Option Command W, which closes the project. I will not save this specific sesh. Command W to close this window. And let me go ahead and drag this over. All right, from the second screen. Beautiful. All right, so then we'll hit Command down. And wait a minute. Let's open up a new session. That's the logic there. And then we'll hit Command N. All right, we're going to open up an empty project. Stand by. Sample rate change. Stand by. Check, check, check. All right, I think you guys are hearing me. So based on the user guide, create that same wiring. If I hit Command 0, you can see that we're back to just the regular default setup. But again, if we go to Options, Import, not project settings, but environment, and I guess let me see. I guess I'll do total replace. It's going to ask me where, so I'll hit Command D. This is where I created a copy of the test sesh. Okay, so let's go ahead and open that up. All right, there it is there. Let's hit open. And true to form, there's the circuit playing. And there's the launch pad. You know what's really scary about this is I didn't I didn't set up the instruments. Like, you see how there's no tracks? So this right here is a perfect example of how logic is really the engine, how the MIDI environment is really the engine that is running logic. So underneath the hood, you have all the chassis, the engine, the transmission, all that stuff, right? And so all of this is supporting what's happening in the tracks area. Now, probably would be the most confusing thing ever is if you're in a session, I don't know, maybe you hit a couple of buttons, you don't know what you did, and you're playing your MIDI controller, and you're like, what's going on? You open up the mixer, you don't see anything. Maybe you go to the Alt tab by hitting Shift X, and then you realize, wait a minute, there is a track here, but how would you know that unless you had a working knowledge of the program? So I need you to learn how to troubleshoot. I need you to kind of think on your feet, spend time with the program. It's really number one. And then, of course, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and share the good word. I just let people know, hey, I'm learning from the Logic Sensei, Eddie Gray. Been number one in the Apple Forum for the last 4 weeks. Got to his goal in 1 month. And now he's here to hook us up and make sure that we are good and we are set up so we can go take over the world. All right. So let's carry on here. I guess I'll bring up this window again. This does in fact work. Let me just swap my windows real quick. Hold on. Yeah, like this. Awesome. Okay, so we see that all this works. There's different options in terms of what to bring in. I think it was pretty self-explanatory. You could bring in different layers. See here, import environment across several environment layers. So this is something that I'm going to gloss over simply because, well, there aren't a lot of examples, but on top of that, I just don't know what it is. And so rather than waste time here, we can update and swap. So you can update an environment if you have only added objects to it, but not deleted anything. Only the new objects are imported. The older objects, along with their cabling, remain in place. So this is cool. So maybe you have a setup and you want to add something that you created in a former session. You can bring that in. You can also swap entirely. It's amazing. This complex task involves a lot of guesswork on the part of Logic Pro, and the results almost always require some manual fine-tuning. Cool. I love that they give you the heads up. Page 927. What would be the difference between swap and replace? That language is interesting. The most flexible, also the most time-consuming method of exchanging environments is to manually choose. Okay, got it. So this is kind of a full-on, just automatic switch. And right here, this is manual. You're kind of doing everything by hand. Very cool. All right, so there's a whole procedure as well. Again, I don't think I can help you with that, but let's move on to customizing the environment. This sounds something that's a little bit more pertinent to this lane. So you can customize the appearance of the environment by creating more on-screen space, displaying objects graphically or as a list. We've done this before. Hiding, coloring cables, using a mini environment window that floats on top of the other. There's a floating window, I guess. We know to open up the inspector, the environment inspector, we hit I. If you want to view by text, go to view by text, a little easier to look at, perhaps for some of you. What else? Hide or show cables, view cables. I would guess I would have to go back to the previous. Oh, what happened here? Let's say I had this one connected to that one. And I go view. If I hit Control C, no more cables. Of course, they're still there, I would assume, but now it's official. All right, view colored cables. We've talked about that. If you want to assign a color to the object, you have to make sure it's selected. Option C brings up the color palette, and then of course you would just change the color. Just make sure that this is selected. And I believe that should take you home. It doesn't seem like it's working on my end right now, but go ahead and play with it and let me know what kind of results you get. Oh, there you go. All right, 929, view a frameless environment window. Okay, so this is like a floating window. So under options, layer, create layer. Okay, so options, layer, create layer. Let's try that real quick. Options, layer, create. Oop, that's a delete. Let's go back here, create layer. Okay, so here it is there. And hold on, I should probably read this. There may be times when you want to have access to particular environment objects while working in the main window. Buttons that are used to control a tape machine, for example. Wow. Instead of opening an environment window each time, you can create a mini window that floats on top of the other windows. Sweet. Create the objects, cable them if necessary. Reposition the objects, then choose View, Frameless Floating Window. And there it goes. You can just have this set up. Now, again, you should spend more time with this. Please read Edgar Rothermick's book on the environment. But the only thing that we've done, I just showed you earlier today. What else did we do? We did one other thing. Oh, yeah, we created a tempo fader, and we recorded in the tempo on a track in real time. That was really fun. Forget which video that was, but go ahead and backlog. Position the window, then press Shift L to lock it as a screen set. That's pretty cool. I didn't know Shift L will lock things as a screen set. Is that a key command? Oh, I guess it's a key command for that specific window, wherever it went. I lost it. Hold on. View, frameless floating window, and then I'll hit Shift L. It doesn't seem to be working, but also I have no content here, so that may be it. Choose the screen set to access the tape controls whenever you need them. So you can quite literally save this as a screen set. So all of this is together. That's one of the beauties of Logic Pro. Customizable in every sense of the word. And please go back to that video on screen sets, which describes everything in full detail. In fact, everything you will ever need to know is really on this series. If you just watch it from front to back, I do my best to fill in any gaps because obviously no one person is going to understand every single thing. But I think what you should be looking for, or what one could be looking for, is the ability to teach the program, teach it well, but also have real life user experience, and then also have some recommendations, and also be able to tie it in with real life applications. Sure, somebody can explain something, do so in a complicated manner, but that's not going to serve you, right? If you've only been doing this for a year, any kind of verbose explanation is not going to help. We need simple, right? Just matter of fact. And so that's who I'm serving here. People who just want to learn it well, learn it fast, but learn it effectively. It's not just fast, right? Fast is just gas and eventually will give out, right? They'll quit. I'm not looking for that. I'm looking for sustenance, like being able to carry it out, be substantial, heavy over time, carry it on and on and on, and stand up and be able to troubleshoot and be able to research and have good resources around you, have a good community around you, etc. Logic Pro provides standard instrument objects to handle MIDI devices that only use one MIDI channel. All right. So the standard instrument objects are only going to handle one MIDI channel because some older synthesizers really just had one channel. So that's when you would use standard instrument transmit MIDI data on a single MIDI channel. So that would be the purpose of a standard instrument. Again, I don't have a MIDI controller per se, so I just want to throw that out there. If I find a way to somehow maybe navigate and connect the iPad, I don't know. Let's see where this goes, because again, this is all new to me as well. Create a standard instrument. If you go to new instrument, you click the environment background with the pencil tool. So why don't we just do it that way just for fun? So I'll hit Command 0. Here's the background, and then I'll access the pencil tool. I'll click one time over. All right, and that is a standard, what do they call it, instrument. And this only allows for one MIDI channel. In fact, let me highlight that. All right, we've created a standard instrument. You look at all the following parameters inside the environment inspector. Is it assignable? Which port? Which channel? Program, right? So all of this is language when it has to do with controllers, hardware controllers, drum machines, things like that. Let's read about the port pop-up menu. You want to use to set a direct connection to one of your MIDI outputs. So some drum machines, some synthesizers are going to have more than one MIDI channel. In this case, I think they were explaining that this is only going to have one. But let's keep reading here. Remember that you can also cable an instrument object directly to or from other environment objects, allowing MIDI processing. All right, let's keep going here. Channel pop-up menu. Going back to channels, that's the MIDI channel for the instrument's output. If you set this parameter to all the events are sent with the original channel settings. So that you may not want to do that, by the way, because what if you have a drum, a hi-hat, right? You don't want to send it all out together. Keep going here. Program volume pan. How is it going to send this out? Which MIDI CC? In this case, it says, let's see, volume is going to be number 7. Pan controller data is number 10. No data is set until you select the corresponding checkbox. So this is really good for troubleshooting. One of my goals when I am done with this is to pick up and I have it kind of on my queue amongst a lot of things, but pick up some kind of drum machine and learn how to use it within the program, and then create video and content for that, because I feel like that is a very underutilized space. And then when you do watch videos, they're very complicated. The values are also sent whenever you select the track while holding down Option. Whenever you select the track, well, hold on, this is good. If the box is already selected, let me hit that. All right, beneath the program parameters bank, what does that mean? If your MIDI sound source recognizes bank select messages, is this like sample libraries? You can switch between sound banks, I think so. All right, cool. Transposition pop-up menu. Let's go up an octave down. Velocity, have a fixed velocity. Loud, medium, or quiet. Key limit. All right, I only want these 5 notes to play. All of the notes outside the range are ignored by the instrument when it plays a MIDI region. In other words, this range of notes are not played. And why would you want to do this? Well, the only thing I could think of top of mind, and if you have something to add, please do, is you have a piece of hardware and you're running one channel and you're playing the bass. And you also have a secondary track, which its key limit is more in the higher range, and maybe it's being recorded in that way. I don't know. That could be kind of just one hack. Something that I have done, I think I did it on this series, is have one. This was before I knew how to connect controllers in the environment, but you could have one controller, let's say, playing the piano within a limit range on the left hand side, and then create another MIDI channel and then set a range on the right hand side. And so this is a way to be able to edit a bit more appropriately, not have it be as convoluted. Let's keep going here. Delay pop-up menu. It's going to basically send the message earlier, later. No transpose. If you don't want anything to transpose, it's going to ignore the transpose in the region parameter. Let's see. This is very useful for instruments assigned to drums or other samples, right? You don't need the drums to transpose. No reset. What does that mean? If selected, no reset messages are sent to the instrument. This can be useful if controllers are being used for non-musical purposes. Oh, this is cool. I didn't know that. Such as when using the instrument object for mixer automation task. Okay. So this setting determines which reset messages are sent. These messages are not sent to no reset instruments. Oh, that's pretty cool. I never thought about it like that. So if you're using, like I have the circuit here, and I predominantly really don't play it as much. I use it more for like controlling buses, using automation quick access for those of you who know what that is. And I could use no reset. In fact, do I have this set up here? I thought I did. Thought we imported it. Did I delete everything? Hold on, clicks imports. Yeah, I guess I could try and import it again. But basically, you would go into the inspector here and you would select no reset for that specific controller. Can be set to any of the available staff styles. We're talking about style now. Whenever a region is created on one of the instrument tracks, it is assigned the staff style displayed here. The auto style is chosen. Logic Pro picks an appropriate style based on the pitch range of the notes in the region. So now we're talking about score notation. There's something else called a multi-instrument. So we learned about single instruments and how to control those, right? What do multi-instrument objects do? So I would assume this is like a drum machine and it has 16 MIDI channels. You generally use multi-instrument objects to address multi-timbral hardware synthesizers or samplers. Multi-timbral sound module is one that can receive on several MIDI channels at once, playing back a different sound on each channel simultaneously. As most modern MIDI devices are multi-timbral, the multi-instrument probably is the most commonly used instrument object in your environment. Okay, so they're giving you some information here. Take heed. The multi-instrument is probably the most commonly used. Right? Perk up your ears. The multi-instrument object parameters are a shorter set of standard instrument object parameters. So you're not going to see as much information for this. The settings you make in multi-instruments track inspector apply globally. All right, so if you do anything within the track inspector but not the region inspector, this will apply to all the channels, 1 through 16, what they refer to as subchannels. Let's create a new multi-instrument. New. Multi-instrument. There it is right there. Let's bring it down here somewhere. Now remember, I can click that, make sure it's in key focus. While I hold Option, I can select global, and that will now bring this over here. And I might have misread this. I will throw that out there, but I believe this part of the screen is a kind of, I want to always look at this part, or I want to create an exercise or a simulation here. And so this is when you would use global objects. All objects seems to kind of be everything together, right? And then click and ports is kind of where all the action is happening. But if you need another screen, you believe that this is what this is for. At least that's how I'm taking it at this moment. All right, so if we double click this, you will see the multi-environment or multi-instrument rather window in Logic Pro. So you have a synthesizer, 16 channels, a drum machine, right? All the information is here. You can select banks, customize it. It is all there. I am going to move on because this is really not going to help us any. Number one, I don't have a 16 channel synthesizer like this yet. So it's just a matter of time. Subchannels. Each of the 16 standard instruments in a multi-instrument provides a separate MIDI channel. So again, there are instruments where you can have all of these running at the same time. Now you may not want to record them all at the same time, but you can access, let's say, channel 8 or channel 15 or what have you. So this is called, let's see, the multi-instruments interface includes a numbered square. Clicking a numbered square selects the corresponding subchannel. All right, so this is all good stuff. Again, I don't see this really being of usage to the modern creatives, somebody that just works off a laptop, just bought a computer this year, what have you. But we still have to continue on, right? And then maybe there's something. Maybe there's an application. So let's keep going. The only parameter you can't change is the MIDI channel. Roger that. If you attempt to change the MIDI channel, you're asked to select another sub-channel. Or select the multi-instrument itself to change the common driver destination. All right. This allows you to redirect. If you change the output of any subchannel, the entire multi-instrument and all other subchannels are affected. Let's carry on here. Connect the output of an object. So this is regarding signal flow within the multi-channel instrument, but let's keep going. A mapped instrument. What is this? I think no, you know what? I've seen touched. I don't know what mapped is. I saw a touch object or something like that in one of Edgar's books, and I was really curious about what a touch track is, so I'm looking forward to getting there. Let's keep going. Mapped instruments. Actually, you know what? We'll take a quick break after a word from our sponsors. Asking me, why aren't you yelling anymore? Why aren't you screaming anymore? Because at some point, you just got to get to work. It's not about hype anymore. You just got to look at the target. You got to look straight at it, and you just got to get back to work. So I love hype, love motivation, inspiration. I love all that stuff. But what I love more than anything is consistency, being effective, showing up every day, and getting it done. All right, my name's Eddie Gray. I'm your host here. Been covering logic from all angles. If you want to learn the program, I highly suggest you take advantage of this opportunity. I do have some great resources coming out in the next couple of weeks. If you want to pre-register to receive these, go ahead and email support@hfmusicacademy.com. That's support@hfmusicacademy.com. And why this is of interest to you is simply because they are the best resources in the game today. You will not find any resources that are better in terms of learning this program. I do believe that I am the best in the world at what I do today, right now. And so if you want to learn from me, it would be a privilege. It would be an honor to be able to spend some time with you and talk shop and just talk about this amazing program that is giving me a second chance at life. So let's get right into it. I want to go back and dig in a little bit further. The environment is not for the feeble. That is for sure. But spend enough time with it, maybe you pick up a thing or two. Soon enough, you start to aggregate facts and various opinions, and then you start to feel comfortable, right? I don't necessarily know my way around, but I'm starting to understand, okay, there's some correlation between this multi-instrument, and there's some kind of correlation between, you know, all of these various objects. And so I want to try and figure out what they do and how they operate, and what are the user cases? When would I use it, right? That's what I would love to see here. Hey, this is when you use this. For example, MPC, you know, I mean, again, I don't really know. And nor is there like that much content, at least that I know of. And again, that's digestible and succinct. So if you guys actually have some links or any recommendations, perhaps, then let's go. All right. So saying useful for drum instruments, right? Any drum mode MIDI device. Drum mode device has different sounds assigned to it, right? It's a different MIDI notes, but only uses a single MIDI channel. For example, a drum kit loaded into the sampler or MIDI channel 10 of a GM compliant sound module. All right. So again, if you've never owned a drum machine or a GM compliant sound module, you don't even know what that is, right? I know this. Oh, I know a little bit of it. It's simply because I've been studying the program long enough that I've seen this within the drummer. And so, or let me say the drummer aspects of the program. So anyway, looks like they take you through kind of connecting this. The mapped instruments parameters are a subset of the standard instrument parameters. Of course, some things are going to be missing. I don't have to show you how to create a new mapped instrument. It does look like it brings up a new window. You can determine the output note, its velocity, what channel it's going through, which cable it's using, I surmise, so on and so forth. How this information will show up inside of the score editor, apparently. That's pretty wild. Man. And again, I've only been doing this for 7 years, so please, you know, understand my view here. Is this relevant? I mean, I have to ask myself that when I look at this. Like, are people really using this? Custom banks, I would love to hear more. I'd love to see and follow and learn from somebody that is not necessarily just understands how this works, but is actually using it, and it's making their experience that much better. I would love it. It'd be amazing. Okay, so we can change banks manually again. Like if you ever played a synthesizer, you know that there's various sounds. I won't be able to look at any of this, so there's no okay. A touch track. Let's see if this somehow can help us out here. So you use a touch track object. That's what they call these, remember? Use the touch track object to trigger regions or folders with a single note. Okay. This function can be used to create a new arrangement in real time. Wow. Ideal for live performances. Okay. I would love to hear more. A touch track. You can't use touch tracks to trigger audio. Roger that. So we know this is strictly MIDI based. Let's continue. Any references to regions means folders and MIDI regions, not audio regions. Despite this limitation, you could conceivably load your audio regions into the sampler and trigger it, of course, because now it becomes software instrument. MIDI means folders and MIDI. Okay, so let me just, not audio regions. Good. All right, a couple things to remember, my good friends. Only the touch track's input has meaning. Trigger notes must appear here. Although the object features an output triangle, has no use, as events never appear here. MIDI regions and folders triggered by touch tracks play exactly as they would from the main window. They play back through the instruments assigned to their tracks. That's really interesting. So for some reason, you would create regions and folders to trigger the sound of your instrument. Why? I don't know. Maybe it's a visual thing. Let's keep going. Logic Pro must be open for touch tracks to work. Yes, I agree. All right, let's see. Anything else? All right, well, let's create it. New touch track. I should create a software instrument just for kicks. Let's do, I'm just going to do alchemy. Keep it simple. And let's see here. Close that. Okay, that's the multi-instrument. I'm not interested. In fact, let me delete this. Can I just delete? Thank you. You're not going anywhere. Wow. It has taken over. Boom. Delete. No? Wow. Okay. All right. We will let you touch tracks. Let's double click. Okay. So it looks like something there. All right. So that is selected. And then what did it prompt me? Drag a MIDI region from the tracks area into the environment. Okay. Roger that. MIDI region. Drag it into the environment. Just did. All right. Let's open up the inspector just in case. Maybe there's something here. Still not sure what's going on. Okay, I'm playing this with my controller, so that is working. Let's continue on. Assign the touch tracks. Wait, assign the touch track object to a track. So I'm pretty sure it's this guy, and I have to assign it to a track. How do I do that? Place the touch tracks object anywhere in the MIDI signal path. I wonder if this is something that I should be doing. Hold on, let me just read a little further. See this? Yeah, I need more examples. All right. So let's I'll tell you what, let's I'm curious. I'm gonna hold Option and I'm gonna bring us into the clicks and ports layer. And what did they say? Put it anywhere in the MIDI signal path. So here's the input nodes. I'll drag this down here, and I don't know, maybe I'll drag it in here and kind of just see what happens. Anywhere in the signal path. I guess I'll connect it to that guy. See what I don't know what that means. Do you want to remove? Yeah, I guess remove. Okay. All right. Well, that didn't help. I thought this was in I guess I thought this was in the MIDI path, but again, could be wrong. And I know that there's people out there that are crushing it in this world and they totally understand it. But again, the aim was to figure it out and troubleshoot with some people here. Okay, it's only connecting back here. Okay, so still getting nothing here. 940. Okay, so obviously this looks similar when we double click on that. The output, hold on, maybe there's something to this. Looks like there's some kind of window that's created. I don't know what all that means, but let me I'm trying to see if this is going to do anything, but I don't know. Maybe I am misinterpreting what this is, but let's keep going. Node is selected via the keyboard. Okay, so what about this? All right, that's in key focus. Now what? The output region are set in the columns. Okay, so if I want to hit, maybe not D7, let's just do something like, I don't know, C2. So we'll set that guy. Region, oh, which region? Please drag any track objects to assign it to any no pitch. I guess I'll drag this region just for fun. Oh, wait, let's see. No. All right, well, anyway, something here, and it would be nice to have this very much simplified. Dragging a MIDI region or folder into the environment automatically creates a touch track object. Okay, we know that. All nodes initially trigger this region. Okay, wait, hold on. I'll tell you what, this might actually even make my life a little easier. So let me delete that guy. We'll drag this here, and let's see what happens. Okay, so theoretically, this is what they would call a touch track. And then, what did they say here? And then put, wait, where was that? Yeah, here. All nodes initially trigger this region. Middle C plays a region, and all the nodes transpose it. Okay, well, if that's true, then I should press play, but that does not happen. So, yeah, we need more. Input name column, we could rename that. If you then drag a MIDI region or folder from the main window, it is only assigned to the selected note. On the vertical keyboard, you can select the individual notes by dragging across several keys. Okay, let's drag across several keys. And in fact, you know what? Let me just keep playing this over and over again. Maybe this will help. I don't know. You got to try stuff. That's kind of the lesson here. Transpose, nothing. Velocity trigger, what would that do? Multi, I guess what? Single? Start, should I just try this? Yeah. Anyway, something here. 942. Okay, so made very little progress, but at least that's something. I really want to know what those touch tracks do. I'll tell you what, I do have a session with the ever so amazing and awesome Edgar Rothermick next month. It's in the calendar. I will make it a point to learn about meta events, just kind of like MIDI, fader objects, and kind of like MIDI, and then also all of this stuff. And I'll kind of take my time. What is a touch track for? I mean, look, guys, this is not an easy concept. Look at all of these objects, right? MIDI instrument, a multi-instrument, mapped instrument, fader, and within fader, look at all this stuff, right? Alias, ornament, etc. All right, so I've created faders here before. So if they teach us how to route it or something like that, then I'm happy to utilize it. So when we checked out fader a second ago, we saw that there were various options. So this could be a knob, right, from 0 to 127. This could be a on and off switch, like a button, vertical slider, or a horizontal slider. There's an auto style fader as well. The default style, if you create a fader with a key command, changes styles as you alter its shape and size. Okay, the type of fader determines what events the fader sends out and responds to. In 2 cases, however, the fader doesn't send out events at all. Okay, so cable switcher is going to kind of switch it up, and then the alias assigner changes the references to an original or parent object. Okay, so we got to get some more info here too. In general, a fader style is completely independent of its type. Cable switcher can look like a button. A knob can send out MIDI or meta events or SysX, which I believe is another kind of MIDI of sorts. The one exception is the vector style fader. Yeah, sounds serious. These behave in a special way by sending out 2 or 4 messages at a time, depending on the mouse location within their 2-dimensional vector window. All right, so let's see if we can get on, and we'll stop here. Normally, you grab the surface of a fader, drag it depending on its style. When using the fader itself, you may notice the values jump in larger increments depending on the size of the fader, right? Your dragging speed. You can also change values in single steps by dragging the slider or knob while holding down the control key. All right, so there's something there. This also applies to plugins. Some of the fader styles have numerical displays. In the cases, double click in the numerical field and enter a value. When you drag any of the sliders or knobs, the series of values that are sent out depends on the fader size and scrolling speed. Not every consecutive value is sent out at a smaller size. If you drag slowly in the numerical field, however, you'll send consecutive values. Okay, so if you drag slowly in the numerical field, you'll send out consecutive values. If you're looking for that consistency, knobs, it can be dragged up or side to side. Buttons only send 2 values, lowest and highest. The default appearance of the text fader is like a value field that can be scrolled. Double click to open a window, enter a text for each menu position. Select the behaves as menu checkbox to use a text fader as a pop-up menu. Select behaves as menu checkbox to use the text fader as a pop-up menu. Vector fader allows you to scroll in 2 directions and sends out 2 values, one corresponding to the vertical position and the other to the horizontal. Wait, are we going to... No examples? Roger that. So let's see here. New fader. There's a vector on all the various things they were talking about. So let's say a button here. So if I drag that down, let's see if I can grab this. All right. Looks like we can control it by dragging. Trying to drag on it does not seem particularly friendly. I'm not sure if you have to enable this somehow. But anyway, this is where you would find all of that information. I'm sure a fader will serve me well for all intents and purposes. So let's drag this down here. Boom, we go up, go down. Yeah. Okay, but again, the mapping, where, how, what do we do? Is it the kind of, I mean, I'm assuming it's the kind of thing where, like for example, I click on fader, right? So it's in key focus. I hold option and I go to the, let's do the mixer. So then, let's see which instrument. That would be this guy. So I don't know, maybe I connect this to that. Does this control? Oh, that's pretty cool. You see how it's actually it's hitting the note? Hold on, is it volume? Oh no, it is volume. That's pretty sweet. So if I double click here and oh no, I was trying to do what they said earlier, which is slide while in the numerical field, but it doesn't seem to be happening. Can I resize this? How do I resize this? I can see how that is useful in all fairness. Can I learn from here? Command L. Let me just connect this to a rotor or to a slider. See if this is possible. It's not happening right now. Let me try another slider. Let me see, maybe I'll do this one. Let's see. Okay, but that just got the, no, I didn't want that. I'm trying to connect this guy right here. Anyway, so this is how I want you to experiment, right? Play in the program, learn from kind of the bottom up. Let's see here. Playback fader movements is with the channel strip of the mixer. You can record fader object movements and play them back. You don't need any special cabling. All data generated by faders is recorded on the selected track. Okay, I want to check this out. Is this true? Let me hit record. Okay, yeah, it looks like it got it. Check it out. That's actually pretty rad. Because now you're the one deciding how this is going to go. Can you imagine trying to do that in post? Creating that swell like that? That would have taken a long time. So I guess what would be really helpful, I'm just throwing this out there. I know this is not like Eddie's ideas, for Logic Pro, but again, I'm only 7 years in. I've had the highest accreditations, worked with big companies, I've consulted companies in regards to this program and music production and such. And it'd be really cool if it said something to the degree of vertical volume, and this one's for panning, and because for all I know, this knob, hold on, let me just drag it. It controls bus send 1. I mean, I that's the thing, is I don't know. This was actually easy to control. So if I do connect it here, for example, and I start to play back, like, is it just automatic that it connects to volume? And then is this what changes it? Let's see. Yeah. Okay. So here we are. This is why we decided to be here. Because, well, gratefully, because of the journey, all the work, I have, at least at the most basic level, a working knowledge to be able to troubleshoot kind of now in person. They didn't mention this in the user guide, right? And so it's up to us to figure this stuff out, to make the most of the program. So then rather than control volume, let's control, let's see, do you see, I don't want modulation, I want panorama if possible. I'm sure we're going to see a lot of MIDI stuff here. There's sustain, hold. I definitely want something I can hear. Reverb. Should we just go for reverb? But also, where is this reverb coming from? So I think what's happening here, and again, correct me if I'm wrong, and I may be butchering a lot of this, but if you had a controller, it would probably have all of these predetermined MIDI messages. So if I hit 91 reverb, I don't think it's going to play reverb. I mean, I could be wrong, but let's check this out. Yeah, that's because that's not assigned to the hardware and the software. So again, if we look for a commonality such as, 0 to 127 MIDI, right? But look for a commonality like, I guess modulation would do it too, but man, what about balance? I think that's the same thing. Let's see. Nay, nothing happening. Okay, I'll try one more. Wait a minute, did I choose? Yeah, I did. Maybe it's this other balance. There's two balances for some reason. Okay, no. And then I'll just try one last one. That was the wrong one. I think it's this guy. Okay, I guess I'll do modulation. Now, I have a just generic initialized preset. Let's select something that actually has something pre-configured for this. So this is no modulation. And if I hit that modulation, I didn't hear a difference. Okay, I just want to select something that actually... Okay, yeah, I think this is affecting... I'm not seeing it on the control, but I think this is affecting the release. You see there, the synth is coming up right away, whereas here it actually swells. See, it takes longer. So that's a pretty good example. of how you can use these, but apparently you have to set them up and you have to understand MIDI to a fairly exceptional and competent level. I mean, you have to understand what it's connected to. There's guesswork involved, obviously, but man, if this was just more systemic, I mean, the possibilities. Or you just learn more, and you take time to learn what came before us. What was the information, and how did it work, and how did they utilize it, and how can we best utilize it? Of course, having a mentor always helps too. So let's see here. Any fader reacts to the incoming signal. For fader object automation task, however, it's useful to create a new standard instrument for the sole purpose of fader automation. Wow. Okay, so that's a whole nother world. I will not get into that, but I'm saying if you're going to create automation, create an entirely different standard instrument just for automation. So don't have a volume fader and then dedicate that same one to automation. Let's see here. So it needs no direct MIDI output, right? It's just controlling automation. Then it uses the channel setting all, and then it's going to be connected to the first fader in any chain of serially cabled faders. Wow. That's a lot. Object groups. Okay, I think I'm going to call it right there. So this is exciting stuff. Take your time, get your reps in, just keep pushing. You'll find it. The next time I see you guys, we're creating object groups. So today we mostly worked with just single items. Fader styles. Looks like we're going to be working with more of these. Okay, what else? Anything worth mentioning? We're going to be talking about fader events, which they refer to as MIDI events in the Logic Pro environment. So we'll be learning a little bit more about fader events. Okay. And what is this? We have an XY pad in the vector fader in the environment. Wow, we have used a lot of adjectives and a lot of Logic geek terms. So hopefully you're enjoying the content. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for the opportunity. Again, I really, really appreciate it. I don't think I know anything more than you. I may have come before you. That's the only difference, if that is the case. And if you've been doing this longer than I have, then I salute you, and I hope that you're learning a lot from this series. All right, this is Eddie Gray. Time to get out of here. I'm going to catch you guys tomorrow. Same time, which is anytime. Same channel, resources for the modern creative. And as always, this is all brought to you by hfmusicacademy.com. And if you want to learn how to monetize your music, go ahead and check us out.